What's up, guys? Today we're taking a look at doing the timing on my 2009 A4 with 2.0 turbo. Let me start off by saying I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a regular dude doing this at home with parts and tools of my own. So this is not a step-by-step procedure. I'm just going to basically give you guys an overall idea of, the tools, parts, and a look into what you need to do this. There's a really good video of a guy on YouTube, I think it's Audi Q5, white one, where he does this job, and he recorded the whole thing. So that's a really good video to watch, to know how to do all the intricate stuff with this. So let's start with the tools. First of all, the special tools you'll need are Audi VW 2.0 toolkit. This was like 40 bucks off eBay. And then you'll need a crank holder tool. With this toolkit, there's a couple things to note. This is a tool for your N205 valve. Those little nubs in there, I had to grind down a little bit to fit perfectly. It went in, but it didn't seat fully. And you want it to seat fully, that way it doesn't come out of place. Because then if you slip, then you can damage stuff. I also had to take a little bit off. I had to grind a little off there, but not much. Remember that this is reverse threaded. This is what goes in your intake cam. So you'll have to turn that clockwise to loosen it. And then for the, back to that. Excuse me. There are two cam sprocket holders. My left one, I had to make a little clearance on this part right here because of hitting the chain when I went to put this in. You want to take your cam bracket off first, put these in, then take out your guides and chain. That way these don't move. Okay, now to the crank damper tool. You can get these for 60 bucks off eBay. ECS, I know, sells them for twice that. I actually made mine because I'm a machinist, so I was like, heck, I can do it for free. Just took some scrap and made it. If you want to make yours, if you have the ability, the spread on these is 42 millimeter. These are 5 millimeter pins sticking up about a 1/4 inch or so. This diameter doesn't really matter, but mine's 3 inches. This diameter is 1.5 inches, just enough to clear your 24 millimeter socket for the crank bolt. And then I just have to weld on my handle, but it's about 1 inch thick. So if you want to do that, that's always that option. Okay, as far as basic hand tools, hopefully a lot of stuff I'm explaining to you guys is redundant, like you already know. I'm sure if you're watching this video, then it will be. So obviously torque wrenches, I have a beam style for all the small bolts because they only get torqued to like 20 foot-pounds, which is actually kind of their limit. Obviously metric sockets and wrenches, that should be a given. T20 through T35 Torx bits. You want a set of 12-point bits. This is a M10, which I think that's the only one I used. A flathead screwdriver for prying off your cover, and be very gentle with it so you don't bend it, because you can reuse it. Some pliers. Electric impact comes in handy. Some liquid motivation. Some blue thread lock. And then a pneumatic impact gun. Really helps to have an air compressor on this job, because I use that to get my crank bolt out. That was a breeze. And also you'll need a 27 millimeter socket for your lower tensioner. For your intake cam, to hold that still while you break the N205 valve loose, you need an 18 millimeter wrench. And it does wiggle, which kind of worried me at first, but it didn't slip. So just exercise caution. Make darn sure your tool is fully seated in there, number one. And then this is a 16 mil on the exhaust cam. And be very gentle doing this because you don't want to damage your adjustable cam lobe down in there. As far as tools, I think that's just about everything. I guess let's go through the parts here. For parts, let's go back to the car. I ordered all 6 guides. Only 2 of them had damage. This one broke when I pulled it out. One of them had some damage. Just replace them all. They're cheap, and then you know where you're at with it. I did both chains. The upper one is prone to stretching. I got the updated Phoebe one from ECS because it uses a different style link, which is less prone to stretching. And then for the lower, I just got the cheaper one. Obviously, your new tensioner. Do not buy this one. If you find this available anywhere, do not buy it. That's the bad one. I got the Vaco one, which is kind of middle of the grade. I think that wraps up stuff on the car here. As far as what I got on my bench, well, let's start on the left side. Obviously, you're going to want to do an oil change after this, because you're going to have crap all over the place. You don't want that in your oil. And I got their magnetic plug. Probably didn't have to replace this, but I did anyway. So, and just to let you guys know, I spent about $400 between parts and tools on this, so it's not terrible. There's really no need in getting a new timing cover. I don't see why people spend $200 on it. If you're careful and you pry it off, have something flat and set it down and make sure it's all straight, and clean it up really good. I just repainted my factory one. Then you should be fine. Get your new front oil seal for that, along with the oil seal for your cam cover. That goes in here. This is a reusable gasket. You will just have to place a dab of black silicone sealant at that crease right there on both sides when you put that on. And you do not need to get the Audi silicone sealant. Just get regular stuff. It doesn't matter what you use as long as it's new and fresh. Also with that, there's no need to replace your timing cover bolts. Just clean them up and put some blue Loctite on them and tighten them all evenly so you press your gasket down evenly. You will need to replace your crank bolt because it's torque to yield, so there's part number for that. And you should replace your bolts for your cam bridge. This is the wrong part number. These are too short, as you can see, so I have to go get new ones. If I ever figure out what the part number is, I'll post it in the comments. I'm going to do new plugs because I took the plugs out to make it easy to turn the motor. So there's that. I guess I should kind of go over a quick rundown on how to get to this point anyways. First thing I did was I got the car up in the air and more or less put it in the service position, and then a couple steps after. It's easiest just to take the wheels off so you don't have to fight looking in your fender wells and getting them pulled back. So just take the wheels off, take your fender liners out just halfway. In order to do that, it has all these little plastic clips. See if I can get a picture of one here. That's not good. Alright, you can see that little tab in there. If you grab this clip where my thumbnail is with pliers and then pry that little tiny tab up with a tiny screwdriver, and then you can pull that off of those little nubs. Just a little handy tip. Anyways, back to this. So, once you pull out your fender liners, take off your front bumper, obviously. Take off your radiators, or your bumper reinforcement. I painted mine black because I'm going to put an RS4 grill on. Excuse me. Once your reinforcement is out, take off your right headlight, the headlight bracket. Take your condenser off the radiator. Slide your radiator out. And then you can take your whole radiator support off. So just pay attention to everything and look what all you have to disconnect it. I can't take all the time to explain all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff that has to go through there. There's a couple of videos on how to do a B7 service position, and there's ECS actually has one for doing the S4 supercharger pulley, so that's a good one to watch if you haven't done the service position before, because you can see how much stuff comes out. I got my fans and my intercooler and my condenser and my core support over here, so there's a lot of stuff to take into account there. As far as getting this all these parts lined up, obviously you want to put cylinder 1 at top dead center. That way all your timing is where it needs to be. I have this diagram I found on the internet, which shows exactly how to line everything up. So if you guys want to screenshot that, that'd be a good idea. And it also lists the torque for those bolts, which is handy. And then I have this chart for bolt torques. We're using M6 and M8 bolts, and most of them are the class 8.8. So we're going to be somewhere in these numbers right in there as a general guide. Just, use common sense there. Don't be cranking something. These are small bolts. They break easily. Let's see. As far as getting all this stuff done, that video of the Q5 shows really good how to do this whole process, so I don't really want to explain that too much. I already talked enough about taking the front end of the car off. If you just watch that video a few times, you'll be good. Just make sure that once you go to put this all back together, you obviously clean this up very well. That way you have a nice good sealing service. You don't get an oil leak. Clean out all your threads. And wipe everything down, and just basic stuff. Hopefully this is all redundant. But yeah, so there's a pretty good idea of what I had to do this job. So hopefully that explains it well enough for you guys. If not, I guess if you have a question, just post it in the comments and I'll try to get back to it. May not be immediately because I am a pretty busy person, but I'll try to get back to you. But yeah, so if you're watching this video, hopefully you feel confident enough to try this yourself, and I wish you good luck, and hopefully this helps. Have a good one.